as you've moved more to the conservative side of the libertarian, but that you're part of the intellectual dark web, and that's typically associated with conservatism. Although other members of the intellectual dark web are not necessarily in that category. There are strong religious undertones associated with conservatism. I wonder if where you are on faith. I've heard interviews with you over the years where you used to describe yourself as an atheist, and then I've heard more as an agnostic, someone who's kind of questioning. I was just for curiosity purposes, I wonder where you're at now, and sort of like has your view on God, religion, and the like shifted over time as well, as it has with other things in your worldview?
Yeah, well, I can say a couple things on this. I mean, I would say that I'm a believer in that I don't see really a way around belief in an odd way. I tried it in many ways, and I just don't see a way around it. Well, especially at a societal level. You know, I think at the micro level, at a personal level, I think there are ways that you can be an exceptionally moral, good, decent person and not be a believer. I do think that's possible. You know, Sam Harris, who I mentioned before, I think is a lovely human being who I know is bringing some goodness into the world. Some of my other favorite guests that I've had on the show repeatedly, Michael Shermer and Peter Boghossian, these guys are atheists who I think are completely moral and decent. I think at a societal level, a society can only organize around something much bigger than itself. It can only organize around some sort of principle that did not come from the people itself. That's why our founding documents in America are so brilliant, because our founders talked about God-given rights, meaning that you are born free. And as I said earlier, we're going to create documents that will protect your freedom, but we didn't make you free. God made you free. Now, we can get into all the mystical and metaphysical stuff around God and what that means.
Sure.
But I would say, you know, there's sort of like a Jewish version of this would be more that you're just supposed to have this ongoing grappling with God throughout your life. That would be more in line with something that I have, because that's what my father had and his father had and all the way down the line. That's the tradition that I come from related to contextualizing or visualizing God, let's say. I've become friends with a lot of evangelicals, and I'm very welcomed by a lot of Christian conservatives, and they have a more personal relationship with God. They want you to have this personal, intimate relationship with God. I think that's perfectly fine too. It's not the tradition that I come from. It's not the tradition that you come from. So I would say my belief is that I don't see a way around belief. Not if you're going to function, not if you're going to build a flourishing society. I don't think you can build a flourishing, good society just around enlightenment values, just around free speech and open inquiry and all of those things. Like, that would be really nice, but I think it's actually counter to human nature. I think there's too many destructive forces in human nature that we have to find something outside of ourselves to believe in, to organize. So I would say if anything, my belief, I would say, is very utilitarian, which isn't the most, well, that's certainly not the most mystical reason for belief. But I think it's enough for me personally. And I'm not trying to convince anyone that's the right way to believe. But I think, let's say for someone that comes at it from a more religious perspective, whether it's a Jewish perspective or a Christian perspective or something else, I think that probably gives enough of the underbelly of belief that it's probably enough for most people. Although I know my, evangelical friends would love for me to have the personal relationship with Jesus.